Noah Grove videos. All right, so EWIs, electronic wind instruments. I wanted to share with you my experience with electronic wind instruments and overall an opinion that I've formed about them. As I think I can give you some guidance in what I would, if I could start over, the direction that I would go in, and maybe there would be two different directions. So first, I just wanted to show you this wind instrument that I have here. This is the DM48x. It's, I believe, a Swedish instrument. I can't remember if it's Swedish or Swiss, but I had to buy it from, it's Lekholm DM48x. I had to buy it from and have it shipped from another country, and I just can't remember what it was. This is a Bluetooth, it's a wireless harmonica. And now I've got it set up with SWAM instruments, and so I've got a trumpet set up here, and I'm also connected SWAM to a keyboard that's here at my hands as well. So you can hear. Okay, so I wanted to show you the SWAM instruments also to say that the SWAM instruments are phenomenal. I mean, the tones that you get out of these SWAM instruments is, I mean, it really, to me, not that I've played a trumpet, I haven't, but I have played a saxophone. It's in the ballpark. It's like, the best way I can describe it is, I used to play piano, and well, I still do, but I grew up learning classical piano, and I played on a grand piano. And then, as I tried to make the switch to keyboards, I just found there were no keyboards that were satisfying to play in the way that a grand piano was. And technology has advanced in such a way that there are keyboards out there now that give you enough of that same feeling where you don't necessarily miss it. And the tones that can be produced or reproduced through the keyboard are similar enough that you feel enough like you're playing an actual piano. And so it really has crossed that threshold, and I'm pretty picky with regards to that. It's still, playing grand piano is better because there's an infinite of sounds that can be produced that's within a grand piano, whereas within a keyboard you're limited to the tones that were recorded and mapped out. So the same thing is true here with these virtual instruments, but to me, these SWAM instruments have crossed that threshold, and there's enough parameters that you can manipulate to get similar tones and feelings to what can be produced through a true acoustic instrument. Okay, now you could play this through a keyboard, and so I've experimented with that, and I should say there are all sorts of different electronic wind instruments out there. I went with this Bluetooth harmonica because I wanted to wear it just like a typical harmonica around my neck and be able to strum the guitar and access different instruments through the Bluetooth harmonica independently of my hands. And that way I could play two different instruments at the same time, maybe be able to pull off some leads of some lead saxophone or lead flute or something for different songs, and not have to rely on looping. Or if I was looping, that I could have two independent instruments that were completely authentic and spontaneous. And so if I was having a backing loop bed of music that I laid out, that with two independently authentic, spontaneous instruments moving, the whole track would feel alive, would feel like live music. And so that was the idea behind getting this. Now, what I've found is to play leads on this harmonica is very, very difficult. I think it would take a long time to master. And I think there are other electronic wind instruments that it would be far easier to pull off the leads on. And so I've looked into electronic wind saxophones, for example, that you can very clearly with your hands indicate what pitch you want by pressing the appropriate buttons, just like on a saxophone, and then you can get that pitch. Whereas with this, you have to be very accurate with your position on the harmonica and whether you're inhaling or exhaling. And so it's tricky if you want to switch between two notes where you have to inhale to access one and exhale to access the other. Your timing has to be really on point. And so it's just difficult, it's touchy, it's tricky, and so it's way easier to play the lead melodies on a keyboard. So this is ultimately my biggest advice that I want to impart through this video is that I think the best strategy would be to just use a keyboard and then have a wind, what do you call it? A wind expression pedal, essentially. Rather than have something like this where you can access all the notes and you can decide what notes, so maybe a true instrument, just something that measures your breath. So if you had just sort of like a whistle that was right here next to the microphone, and you could lean over and indicate the velocity with that wind meter, and just go and blow into the whistle, and that is your expression, your source of expression. And then you can decide the pitches with the keyboard. And so you can kind of do that with this. And so this is a wind expression reader. You can see when I play it right now, you'll see that the sound swells and fades with the intensity of the exhaling or the inhaling. So I'll demonstrate that right now, and it even has some other aspects that it does with the intensity of the inhaling or exhaling. So I'll demonstrate that. You can see once it hits to like a peak intensity of exhaling, then the tone lowers and raises. Just kind of a neat little trigger that's available. But you can also very clearly hear the difference in tone and volume. Now, you can duplicate this by having an expression pedal at your feet, which I do down here. And if I play on the keyboard, which I'm doing right now. Now, right now, I don't have an expression pedal at my foot that is set up to control the expression. The expression is being controlled through this. So if I press if I start playing a note through the MIDI harmonica, and then I can choose a different note with the keyboard. And so I'm going to play this note on the harmonica, and then I'll play this note on the keyboard. You'll see that it'll switch. So I'll go. And then I can control the intensity of that note on the keyboard just through this harmonica and the expression that I'm putting into the harmonica. Now the disadvantage here is that any time I switch the note on this harmonica, it will defer back to the harmonica, and so it will play that note. And so I don't have a way to only control the wind intensity or only control that expression aspect and then just play the notes on the keyboard. I don't have that way. And that would be the best way to get those authentic sounds, the sounds that feel the most like a truly acoustic instrument. And so as I was saying earlier, you could set the expression to a foot pedal, but what I found is it pales in comparison to the authenticity that you can get out of using your breath as that indicator. It feels so much more organic, sensitive, and as you can see, these SWAM instruments are quite remarkable in terms of how they sound. But when I've used the foot pedal as the expression, it doesn't sound as good. and it starts to sound more like a virtual instrument. And so I found that having that breath expression is somewhat essential to getting the most out of those virtual instruments and making them sound like truly authentic, genuine acoustic instruments. And so that leaves me to advise that, and this is the part that I don't know about yet that I need to explore, but the direction I would send you is to look out there in the marketplace for just a breath sensor, a MIDI breath sensor, something that can just gauge your breath, convert it into MIDI data for the purpose of determining the intensity of expression. And then pair that with a simple keyboard. And I think this is going to be a far less expensive method and a far easier and very capable method, like the most capable method of getting those authentic sounds out of your virtual instrument, out of your VST, your plugins. There are other instruments on the market that probably do this very well. There's like a Yamaha EWI saxophone, an electronic saxophone, that I think probably does that very well. I've looked at it, been tempted to get it, but I just think ultimately there would be an appeal of playing an electronic saxophone and the visual component of it, but you will be able to, I think, more easily and just as good, if not better, get the sounds that you're after through just that breath expression gadget or whatever you want to call it. I'm sure that they make them. I haven't looked into it yet enough to know what really is on the market and what ones are good. If anybody out there that sees this video, if you know of something exactly like that, does a great job with specifically that, please put that in the comments, let me know, or send me a message. But that would be my advice to anybody looking to get into wind instruments, is to look for something like that and pair it with a keyboard. I'm sure it exists. If this thing exists, one of those exists. And I mean, I've seen some on like Amazon Marketplace, Amazon or whatnot, but I just don't know which ones are good. And if there's one out there that's really verified as it truly does that job well. I'm sure some people out there already know. And with that said, that's this video. I hope that was useful to you. If you have any questions, please leave it in the chat. If you have any suggestions for me on these videos, let me know. See you guys in the next video. Peace out. When no one's around and you're feeling down, just get on the upbeat. When you lost your heart and don't know where to start, just get on the upbeat. 'Cause I've been playing on the downbeat for too long. Maybe the remedy is to fall into a song. Just get on the upbeat, just get on the upbeat. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just get on